Welcome back to the Friday Show, presented by the Mid-Atlantic Thoroughbred Championships, the Match Series. It resumes Labor Day weekend at Parx. I'm Scott Jagow, along with Ray Pollock. We're glad to have you with us this week. Ray, the glare still burning hot on the horse racing industry with more articles in recent days, New York and Maryland and California. And in fact, in Los Angeles, the Board of Animal Services took a vote this week deciding whether they were going to recommend banning horse racing in the city of LA. Now, LA doesn't technically have horse racing. Santa Anita is in Arcadia. But how concerned should the racing industry be about this development?
I think it should be very concerned, mostly because this is a foot in the door of someone trying to end horse racing. This Animal Services Board has 5 members. Only 3 attended the meeting, and they needed a vote of 3 of those commissioners to approve this motion, which actually was to send a message to the City Council of Los Angeles opposing horse racing in the state of California, not just Los Angeles. So it would be sending a non-binding resolution to the City Council to say we oppose horse racing in the state of California. So this is a serious problem. This is not to be taken lightly. It was 2 of the commissioners voted yes, and the president of the commission voted no after hearing horse industry people speak out against it, talking about the jobs that are as part of the industry. And so it didn't pass. But the person that put this out there said he'll come back and push for it again at the next meeting, or he'll go directly to the city council.
Yeah, in this case, it's actually city officials, people who are in positions of power, taking action or trying to take action. And that's different than just hearing from extremist groups who have an agenda to get rid of horse racing. So it's a step further, and it's very concerning. And here is where the racing business, we're going to go back to this old problem of not having a national governing body or a league office or commissioner to stand up and explain things to people, to shed the proper light, especially when these zealots warp reality about the industry. Now, some of the facts are facts, and you can't avoid them, and we should acknowledge the problems that we have. We definitely have a lot of problems in this industry. However, it's so easy to warp the minds of the general public about racing because these animals are involved and it's a sensitive topic, and many people don't realize how much the people in this industry care for horses. And we've talked about this before, but we don't have that person to stand up, or that organization to stand up and fend off some of this stuff.
Yeah, the extremists that you talk about are getting organized. They were out in full force at this meeting the other night. There were people speaking on behalf of the industry, representing trainers and other groups, but these people are organized. Horse racing is not organized. And I would certainly hope that the various groups that are involved in promoting and protecting this industry are doing something about it. There are crisis management firms out there that handle specifically this type of problem. This is not the first time an industry has come under attack from animal extremists and animal rights people. So you have to look at this, as you said. I think there's different camps. One camp are the extremists that you will never satisfy, never make happy. They're, frankly, you just can't even talk to them. But then there's the general public, which hears from these people, which reads in the media, quoting these people, and there's nobody from the industry pushing back saying this is not true. And that's where we need to get to right now. And the problem is, who is it going to be? We have a dozen alphabet groups, the alphabet soup groups, from the NTRA to the Jockey Club to the Breeders' Cup to HBPA, THA, and all that. Who is leading this industry right now? Right now, it's no one.
And that's a problem. And regarding the extremists, you can't fight crazy. So I get your point there. But what you can do is take action. Action speaks louder than words, of course. And I'll give you an example of where this industry is just not, they're tone deaf. Marcus Vitale was suspended for a year in Delaware for an incident that is just reprehensible. He ran into the room when they were doing a search, removed something from the refrigerator, which I guess was a vial or appeared to be a vial, and then ran out. And he has a history of violations in this business, and there is just absolutely no way that he should be allowed to continue his job as a trainer. 1 year is a joke. He should be banned. If these tracks are going to band together to get rid of Hall of Famer Jerry Hollendorfer, and I'm not arguing against what they did, I'm just saying they banded together to get rid of him based on fatality rates, then you got to get a guy like Vitali out of the sport. And if you don't, then you are leading your own demise.
Yeah, you talked about Jerry Hollendorfer. We learned this week via the court records that were opened and reported on by USA Today first that the reason they got rid of Jerry Hollendorfer was because of the PR, the bad PR they were getting. That it was a PR nightmare if anything had happened at Del Mar. So I don't know his full record. I do know that he had 6 horses at Golden Gate and Santa Anita that were euthanized since December. That's a high number. I think it's an unacceptable number. It's my understanding that the previous 2 years was a very low number, if there were any at all. But there's certainly a double standard in play here between what they did with Jerry Hollendorfer and what to date hasn't been done with Marcus Vitali, because he's appealed the suspension, and that appeal won't be heard until late August. So unless the racetracks will use their private property rights and not allow him to be on the grounds because of this incident, he will continue to be allowed to train until his appeal is heard. I think, at least that's the word I understand at this stage.
And the animal rights or animal extremist groups, they don't really seem to point to these kinds of things, which of course their agenda is the animals. So they don't seem to care that much that there's people in the industry who are to blame for the problems with the animals. Guys like Vitali, who do things they shouldn't be doing, are giving things to horses they shouldn't be giving them, and that leads to problems. But you just hear about the deaths in the industry animal-wise, and you don't hear pushback from these groups on stuff like this. But the industry should stay ahead of it. When things like this happen, the foot needs to come down and say, no, you can't participate in this sport. Right. When you do things like that, and we look at your track record, which is terrible, you got to be gone. And if you don't take that action, then again, I believe that horse racing is going down the path where it's just become such an easy target when you don't put your foot down.
Yeah, on the one hand, I'm saying we need to convince the public that we're doing everything we can to protect the horses. But if we're not doing everything we can, we're lying to the public. And, number one, we've got to get somebody out there speaking on behalf of the industry. Number two, they have to be telling the truth. And in order to be telling the truth, we've got to do some self-searching here and say, are we doing everything? I know that we're not doing everything in some states. California is leading the way out of necessity, but there are a lot of states that have ignored this whole crisis. And guess what? It's coming to those states soon enough, because this problem is not a local problem. It's a national problem right now.
We have a poll question about this subject related to the vote in Los Angeles. Should the racing industry be concerned about local governments trying to ban horse racing? Let us know your thoughts at PollockReport.com with our poll. That's going to do it for this edition of the Friday Show, presented by the Match Series, which picks up again Labor Day weekend at Parx. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.